Okay, so today's drawing is Luna from the Hex Girls, which were a bunch of characters from one of the Scooby-Doo Halloween films, which I vaguely remember somewhere in the depths of my mind. And speaking of Scooby-Doo horror films, I also remember something about women who were cat monsters or something and wax figures, and it was really strange. That was one. I think there was an older one, and I think there was an even older one where there's like a school of monsters that the characters from like the Scooby-Doo gang have to train or something like that. I swear they're real things. I mean, they could be a fever dream, but I think they were actually real things. If I did have the DVD for the film with the Hex Girls in there, I think I would watch it for Halloween. I'm not really a fan of scary films because I'm not really life can be scary enough on its own. Why add more scariness to it? Generally, I like things that are a lot more light-hearted or even comedic, because we all need a laugh sometimes. But I still like a spooky, kind of macabre kind of setting. Just the tone is just really light-hearted. So probably not really a surprise to anyone. I like things like The Addams Family, or even The Munsters. I used to watch that quite a lot at my grandmother's house. For some reason, they always had the reruns on the television, so I always used to watch that. The characters are my favourite, aesthetically at least, was always Vampira, and that's probably because, obviously, the style at the time, the way she was styled was based on the fashion at the time. So she's got that typical 50s silhouette. She's also got the cool red nails, which I suppose you never really saw on television because it was black and white. But in general, probably a surprise to no one, Morticia's my favourite because she's just a nice feminine type of character. She did a lot of traditional feminine things. She did knitting and she looked after plants, and she had a very nurturing, caring nature to her, and she was very intuitive. But she also spoke her mind, and she wasn't a very passive character. So I always liked that. She was very feminine, and it wasn't seen as a bad thing. Really, I don't remember much about Lily from The Munsters, even though I did watch it. I don't think I remember much about this show at all, actually, but I know I definitely watched it. But I'm assuming she was probably fairly similar to Morticia, because the idea was they're all kind of like a traditional family, wasn't it? The backdrop was that everything was a bit spooky, so it was like, ooh, this is strange and funny. Also, there is Elvira, but I barely know anything about her, really. I don't think I really watched anything that she did stuff for. But they're all cool and spooky in their own special way. And it's something quite interesting because I wasn't really into spooky aesthetics as a child. At least I don't think I was. I think it was something that really got going when I was an angsty teen, which makes a lot of sense, to be honest. So the drawing itself didn't go exactly how I actually wanted it to go. While I was halfway through colouring in the skin, the camera was yelling at me that the memory card was nearly full and I had about 3 minutes left or something. Really not that much time. So I was going to colour in the whole outfit red, and I know traditionally you see Luna in purple because that was like her colour, but I'm going for a colour theme of a cohesive black and red and brown, so I thought I'll see what it looked like if I stuck to that. So because I was low on time, I decided to go for the usual. We colour the impression of the colour with the outfit, so we colour in the shadows with the colour of the ink instead of colouring the whole thing and really going in there with more detail. I don't think it looks terrible, but I feel there's some more refining I could have done. I don't know if I might come back and try and draw something similar again later on or not, or if I should just completely move on. But I just feel I could have done better. But one thing I did do is that I did get the feathering effect on the hair, which I said I wanted to do. I think it works really well for Luna's hair. I'm still not quite sure what the texture is. If you look at the original film, to me it looks like a 60s, 70s rocker, back-combed kind of thing. But if you look at more modern interpretations of her. Her hair is a lot more slick and straight, and sometimes over her face. And some drawings, I think they're not official drawings, but they're more fan art. You'll see her with a more almost afro-y kind of texture, which also could make sense. So I didn't really know what texture to go with, but I think I was going for just a really curly, almost afro type texture. Might as well. There isn't really that much reference images out there for her. And it's probably because they were just side characters in that one film. Although I do think they are in later episodes, but I haven't seen them. I haven't watched Scooby-Doo in quite a long time.